Here's part 2 of the Brothers SE625 video. Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Birth, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. It's been a while since we've been at our Brothers SE625 machine here, and actually it was back in May when I did the first sort of unboxing video where I shared all the accessories and tools that came with the machine. Now, as it so happens, I also recorded a sort of part 2 to that video that included running through the basic sewing machine features of the machine. However, I apparently never recorded a little opening sequence for that footage. So I've just gotten around to editing that footage, and this is now the official opening sequence where I'm going to tell you a little bit about part 2 of our delving into the Brothers SE625. Now, as you recall, this is a sewing machine slash embroidery machine, and I bought it primarily for the embroidery machine purpose, but I wanted to start off just figuring out how the sewing machine features worked. So in this part 2 video footage, you will see me going through the opening sequence, getting the menu set up, and then learning about the sewing machine stitches, how to make adjustments, how to wind the bobbin, how to thread the machine, and then running a few sewing stitches. So without further ado, let's get into part 2 of our Brothers SE625. Here we are. This is the machine. I haven't done anything with it, so I'm going to start it up by turning it on. And the little logo comes up on screen. This is really nice. I'm really impressed with this. Brothers has a full color screen on this unit, so I am really liking this. It's got that little intro there. And so now, is it, what? Okay, so it's just repeat. So I guess it's a screensaver. It is a touch screen, so we are going to go ahead and press it here. Okay, so now it says select language, which is set to English, so I'm going to press OK. Whoa! Haha. Raise the presser foot. Okay. The cartridge embroidery the cartridge of the embroidery unit will move. Keep your hands, etc., away from the cartridge. Okay. Oh, look at that. Did you see that move? Okay. Always press when removing the embroidery unit. So I've got a couple of settings here. It says here, always press when removing the embroidery unit. So like I said, this is an embroidery and sewing machine. So I'm going to just start off with trying to figure out the sewing part of it. So I'm going to press this, and it says that the cartridge unit will move, and I'm going to go, okay, so it moves out of the way, and I believe it says here, okay, so it says to turn off the power. So I'm going to turn off the power, and I'm going to, it looks like, yes, okay, so there is, under this part here, there is a lever that you hold down and pull to get that out. So I'll just flip it around. So right in here, there is a lever where you press and pull this off. So this is the embroidery unit. And so I'm going to set that aside. And then this is the sewing machine attachment. And I believe it just kind of goes in there just like so. There we go. And like a lot of modern sewing machines, this is my first modern sewing machine other than my Serger, but most modern sewing machines have a little container right here inside this piece. So that's kind of nice for storage. So now that I have this piece on, I'll go ahead and turn it back on. What will happen? It's probably going to run the same setup here. To see more episodes like this, be sure to click the like button, subscribe to Akram's Ideas, and hit the bell icon to get notified of new episodes. So it does a little screensaver. I'm going to go ahead and touch it. Ooh! Alright, so with the embroidery unit off, it automatically changed screens. Now what we're looking at are the different settings for the machine. So we have our width, our lengths, and our shifts here. And it's all set up in millimeters. And we're going to go ahead and take a look. It looks like our width is 0, so that is the stitch style. So 0 is going to be a straight stitch. Our length is 2.5 millimeters, which is a standard stitch length. And then our shift, it looks like it's at 0, so that should be centered. But if I'm looking at it here, I can see all some of the decorative stitchings that are in here. What was it? Oh, number 30 is kind of interesting. That's kind of, it's just a weird kind of freehand motion one. There's this one. They have different names too, like Q and P. I'm wondering what that's about. I need to go obviously through the book and figure out what's what. I'm sure they have some information about all of them, but for right now, I just want to know what a straight stitch. I want to just do some basic testing with straight stitch. If I go into, is it this one? This is settings. All right, so under settings, I can change some of the information on the settings. So I have width control, which is whether to use a sewing speed controller to determine the zigzag width, on or off. So this has to do with sewing speed. Make adjustments to decorative stitch patterns is the fine adjustment, so I can adjust the preset ones inside of here. This one obviously means are you using a twin needle? That one's pretty standard. So if I go to the next one, the initial needle position. So either on a straight stitch you're on a left, on straight stitch 1 you're on a left, on straight stitch 3 you're in the middle. So actually let me go back. So stitch 3 you're in the middle. Is that right? I don't think it changed my needle position at all. It says it did, but I physically don't see it changing. And it says it's still 0, but I'm not sure. All right, so, okay, so needle position, I can set it to one or the other, whether I want it left or whether I want it middle. As a utility stitch, this is automatically selected when your machine is turned on, so, oops, I got out of the menu system. Okay, so that was page 2. Page 3 is the frame embroidery, which I'm not doing embroidery right now. I'm just trying to figure out the sewing machine part. Again, some more embroidery stuff. Okay, so this has to do with the embroidery stuff. And I do have some software that I actually purchased to do some custom embroidery too, so I'm interested about that. Needle position up or down. So, number 14. So it says here, select the needle stop position for when the machine is not being operated or up and down. So here would be, this one seems to be down, but in the wording it appears that this is up, and it's currently up, so I'm going to assume the default is up, which is what you want. It also says buzzer off and on. What does the buzzer have to do? Select whether to hear a beep on the operation sound. So I guess when you turn it on, I'm okay with that. Opening scene, that's that little screensaver that we saw. I'll leave it on for now. I can go back and change the language if I wanted to later. I can also turn the light on and off. I'm going to leave the light on. Input sensitivity. Oh, this is for the touch screen. I'm going to leave all this. I don't really need to change any of that. Service count, total count, number count, and version count. What is all this? So according to this, the service count, number 20, display the service count, which is a reminder to take your machine into regular contacting. So I guess this kind of will eventually display a number that says, hey, you need to go get your machine serviced. The display the total number of stitches sewn on the machine. So this is kind of like your mileage on a car. This is actually going to tell you how many stitches you've actually used this machine. That is kind of interesting because it keeps like a record of your history of your machine. So that's interesting. The number on the internal machine, I'm going to assume that's serial number, and display program version installed. So this is the version of the software on the machine. All right, so I think at this point we need to attempt to wind the bobbin and get some thread on this machine. All right, so theoretically speaking, this machine has your basic thread that goes here. And I do have some embroidery thread that I purchased for this machine for embroidery. But since I'm just trying to figure out the sewing machine part, I don't want to waste my embroidery thread. So on my regular sewing machine thread is this cone thread. And I'm going to try to get this on the sewing machine. I'm going to be using this cone thread adapter pole here to get it to get on the sewing machine. So I'm going to now run the thread for the bobbin. Alright, so let's see if we can do this. We need to take our thread here and it goes through number 1, and then from number 1 it's going to go through the top of 2 and it's going to wind over here to the bobbin, which I have the bobbin here, and then we're going to have it so that the thread comes out at the bottom of the bobbin. I don't know if you can see, but there is a tiny, tiny little square notch in this bobbin. And so this square notch gets lined up with the gap on the bobbin pin. Again, it's really small, so I don't know if you're going to see it, but there's a little notch in the bobbin and it gets lined up with the gap that's on the bobbin pin here. And then you just slide it over to get it into place. All right. When you've got your bobbin ready to be wound, this orange light will come on. This is your start and stop. Now, when you're doing the bobbin, you cannot use, or actually whenever you want to use just some manuals or the, I guess, automatic start and stop, you cannot have your presser foot plugged in. So I had to unplug the presser foot from the machine. So now that I've got this in place and I'm holding the thread, I'm going to press the start button. Okay, so it stopped moving, and so I went back down here and I pressed the stop button. And so that's the bobbin thread wound. I'm going to go ahead and move it out. So here is my bobbin thread that I pulled off the machine. And if you'll notice, if I can get its focus, it actually did a really, really nice tight bobbin. So now that I've got the bobbin, we're going to attempt to put the bobbin in and thread the rest of the machine. I'm going to re-thread this for the regular threading. So it's going to go through the first same 2 loops. So it's going to go through that loop there and this loop. Now, instead of going around this bolt here and going towards the bobbin, it's actually going to come down. And so here's number 3, and 3 indicates that you're going to go back up. So you're going to go back up to 4. I'm going to put my needle in the up position because there is a hook right here. I'm going to go down to 5. Number 6 is this little notch here, and it goes into that notch. Then if you are looking at the instructions here, number 7, it goes up, and is that right? No, is it? It goes up and through. You're going to go out on 7 over here, Off to the side here, I've got number 8, which is a thread cutter, which I can use to cut the thread. I can just pull it and I'll cut it. And then I've got number 9 here. Number 9 is the automatic threader. So what I need to do first is I've got to lower the presser foot. The light goes green. And then for this automatic threader to work, you've got to press the needle up and down a couple times. So you go down and this will take it all the way to the top position. So this positions it in the right spot. Hand cranking it, you may not get it in the exact right spot. And once I've got it all lined up here, I'm going to press this side bar and I keep pressing and I very slowly come out. And it appears it actually did it. Oh, look at this. It looks like it got it. So you want to go down at slow, and you want to go down and keep pressing down until you see the thread coming back out at the other end. And then you want to slowly let go so that you can grab the thread once it comes out. So that is the automatic needle threader, and that's a pretty nice feature. It's a little fiddly, but it is a nice feature. Just remember, I think the biggest thing that I had troubles with is figuring out the needle position here, just making sure that it's in the topmost position, and to go really slow when you're putting it down. But the next thing that we're going to do is attempt to put our bobbin in. And the bobbin has this lovely little casing here. I'm going to press this, I don't know if you can see this little button right here. Will, if I press it that way, come on, you can do it. You did it a minute ago. It should just, there it goes, there it goes. It lifts up this little casing, so we'll get rid of that. And I've got a bobbin in here already. Let me lift up the presser foot. All right, so the bobbin, it came with another extra bobbin besides the bobbins that came with it in the accessory pack. So here is my bobbin, and it appears, I don't know if you can see, but it's got this little illustration right here as to how this goes in. So it appears that you want your thread coming this direction here. So the thread coming around counterclockwise. So I'm going to put the bobbin in. It's going to come out. It's going to go all the way around this part here, and it cuts it. And I guess it's in there, so let's hope it is. I'm going to snap that piece back on, and I think that's it. Let me set my presser foot down, and I'm just going to pull some stitching out. Oh, I'm going to pull my needle back out, and it looks like, lo and behold, there's my bobbin thread. So again, that was almost automatic. I mean, I didn't really have to do anything for the bobbin. That was pretty nice. It caught it, it got it, everything was good. So now is to actually do a few test stitches and see if this works. Got all my threads behind here, and I'm just gonna, I guess I'm gonna start. I can even backstitch, and then I can up my needle, up, and use the snips. Oh, I love the built-in snips. I'll say that now. And, yeah, that looked amazing. Backstitched and everything. I didn't even have to use the presser foot. So this automatic stop and start, this does it for you. You don't need the presser foot or anything, which is interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if I like that yet. I mean, it's cool and all, but what are my feet gonna do now? Let me know in the comments if you prefer using your stop and start buttons, or if you still prefer the presser feet. Do you have more control? What do you like? But I think right now I've got the sewing machine features working. I think I've got it on a good tension. I didn't really mess with the tension of the sewing machine. I left it at the standard 4, which is about standard, you know, 3 to 5 is usually what you have your tension set to. So overall, it's pretty simple. I think I'm just going to play a little bit more with the sewing features, and then eventually we're going to come back and attempt some of the other features of this machine.
And that was a glimpse at the sewing machine features of the Brothers SE625. If you have any tips or tricks about this machine, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Be sure to stay tuned to part 3 of this series, where we'll get into actually doing some embroidery with the embroidery part of this machine. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas, and thanks for watching.
My Brothers SE20. Let's do that again. And that actually, oops, I just lost it all. If you have any trips, since we actually went, let me do that one more time.